Hello, my name's Evan. With us is Michael Stotler, Michael Tollefson, and Joe Reed. We're a part of the design studio from North Dakota State University, and we're really happy to be here and happy to present our plan for Devil's Speak, Spirit Lake Equestrian Park. Okay, so in front of you is a pretty large board, and that's why we're zoomed out so far. What would be ideal is if you guys printed this off to look at the whole board full size. But we're just going to zoom into sections here and look at it individually at the different parts here. So what this project meant to us was creating sort of an immersive experience for equestrian riders and even locals to come and sort of appreciate the land. So it was really important to us that we weren't being destructive to the land. And one of the things we kept in mind when we were carving out these pathways throughout the site was that we were preserving as much as possible vegetation-wise, keeping the trails safe, and providing as many experiences as possible. And we did this by creating two different trails, one moderately challenging and the other a little bit more challenging. And the thing that we did differently than maybe some of the other groups was that we connected these through connection trails. So these two 4-mile trails suddenly turn into almost 20 plus trails if you get creative with it. And up next is Michael Tollefson to talk a little bit more about our trail system.
Hi, this is Michael, and as Evan mentioned, we have two different trails. And so as you can see here, this amber colored brown trail, this is our easier trail for people that probably won't be as good at horseback riding or as experienced. And so while making the trails, we wanted to work with the contours as good as possible to make it easier for them, but still allow them to get to higher peaks and see the great views. And so as you go on this trail, you see a few different icons. You got the green ones with the binoculars, the brown ones with the tents, and the white ones with the water symbol. So those just kind of mark where different amenities are. So the green ones, they'll tell you where you can see good views overlooking Devil's Lake and other areas. And then the brown ones will be areas where you could camp or do whatever you need with groups. And then the white water ones are for you and your horses if you need to take stops. And so after the easy trail is the darker colored trail. This is for people that are more experienced. This one will have a bit steeper slopes. That way they can challenge themselves and their horses and kind of get to explore the land a little better. And so they loop around throughout the whole site. We wanted to make sure that you could experience the whole area and keep finding new spaces. And then as Evan mentioned, there's small connectors, and those are those lime green ones. And those are just there in case you don't want to do a full loop. That way you can kind of cut back and go back to wherever you want to go. Thank you. So up next, we'll have Michael Stotler talking about the sections.
My name is Michael Stotler, and I'll be talking about different section cuts, which we have diagrammed for you, dealing with different slopes throughout the site. The top one here you can see is a 25% slope, the middle is a 33% slope, and the bottom is a 50% slope. One of the more ideal slopes when laying out these trails as far as cross slope goes will be this 25% slope. And as this section cut shows, it's going to allow the trail to feel the most natural, almost as if the trail has grown out of the forest itself. The cut and fill areas are going to be minimal, allowing for low erosion risk. Here we have a 33% slope section cut. It's going to be less than ideal compared to the 25% slope. The erosion risk is going to be elevated just slightly, but not too severe that it's going to cause any worry. There should be no problems using this cross slope throughout the site. Using it less than the 25% slope again, but it's still going to feel pretty natural. A little bit more invading on the land, but not so intrusive that it's uncomfortable riding on. So it's kind of middle of the road as far as cross slope goes. Lastly, we have our 50% slope section cut. This is going to have a much more constructed feel than the lesser slopes. It's definitely going to have more of a mark on the land. It's going to require much more earth movement as far as cut and fill goes, also posing a higher erosion risk. With more earth movement, that's also going to require more trees and native vegetation to be taken out and replaced. adding to that erosion risk. And also, it's not going to feel as natural in these areas for many years to come as compared to the other areas, other slopes, which require much less effort and much less invasive feel. And now Joe Reed will talk about the trailheads.
Hi, I'm Joe, and I'm going to explain the trailheads. We have a trailhead located on both the northern site here on A and the southern side of the site down here by B. And both of these sites kind of follow the same functions but are laid out a slightly different. And here I'm going to zoom into these real quick. Okay, perfect. Well, the trailheads are going to be kind of the face of the equestrian trail. It's going to be the first experience somebody has when they pull up to the site. And the main focus, the way we design these, is around function and practicality. Then we kind of soften the edges of this with some natural vegetation and some kind of abstract forms. When you first pull up to the site, the parking lot is designed with trailers in mind. We put 30-degree parking and kind of a one-way system, so that way you pull in, park, and then the back gate of the trailer is pointing towards the kind of corrals and trailhead. So that way you can easily pull in, unload the horses right into the area, and then when you leave, you can load them right back in and drive out that one way without having to back up. Also kind of around the site, we have a bathroom facility, fenced-in corrals, and on these corrals we have overhead shelters that include water sources and troughs to put in food to kind of help prepare the horses that come to the site. We also have an exercise areas, these kind of larger open grass areas to maybe stretch the horses' legs out before or after they embark on the trail. We really wanted to keep the horses' kind of health and wellness in mind when we come to the site and kind of help create a space that's easy to prepare, before you embark or when you come back from the equestrian trail. Each site can accommodate about 10 to 15 trailer parking spots, and there's about a couple dozen automobile spaces. And this is all kind of surrounded with natural vegetation and buffers. And we figured this way would be kind of a way to quiet the sound of the cars and the active people and help calm the horses so that it's a better environment for them. And now to finish off this presentation, here's Evan.
All right, thanks, Joe. Looking back at sort of the top of the board, we included a light perspective of what we thought this space might look like near the entrances. And then sort of going down with the rest of the board, those would be located on A and B. And that just gives you an idea for sort of material and the size of some of the spaces. Overall, we think this is a pretty solid plan, or at least something to get started with. We hope, if anything, you take away the idea of maybe two major trails, one moderately difficult and one heavy or harder, and connecting those two different trails via connection points, which really deepens the amount of options you have when visiting this site. So someone who comes here maybe once a week and rides can have a different experience for years. Now, after doing a lot of research on sort of what equestrian trails and tracks like this mean to a community, we found that they really positively impact the community and give them something to be proud of and really embrace their surroundings. And when we traveled through this space, we all agreed that this would be an awesome opportunity for you guys, and we really hope you guys carry it through. You don't necessarily have to choose our plan, but we hope you take something away from it. We do think that this is a solid plan, or at least a jumping off point for you guys. And it's not overly expensive or overly ambitious. We think it's just the right amount for you guys. So once again, thank you guys for this opportunity. It's been a blast, and we hope to hear back from you guys.